Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome to another edition of GFB, Grown Folks Business. I think we're getting a little bit more familiar, so we can go with the acronym GFB. Um, Glad to see some familiar faces in the place, and good to see Jay Dwayne Garnett back in the building. And I think this topic is going to be one we have a lot of fun with. Um, I'm glad to have two magnificent people here to unpack this because this is what I like to call an unpackable question. But first and foremost, again, I want to thank everyone here in the space and everyone that's at home watching or in the car listening. I know Merrill mentioned that he couldn't make it tonight because he was traveling, but he was going to be listening. So, man, it's just nice that people want to pay us this much attention. I think that speaks highly to what we're trying to impart and what this show is about, the edification. So, everybody knows how we do here. Control your mute button unless you are speaking, and we'll keep the audio the way we need to have it and no echoes and all that good stuff. So again, I appreciate having two people I hold in very high regard in the space. Lisa, thanks for joining us, and Jay, appreciate you making your way here. Um, Tonight's topic, and I'll even say it's just again what I call an unpackable question. Has some serious layers to it, and I'm just interested in where we go in our discussion, and hopefully I can help us navigate that. So I might be the driver, then I might become the passenger, and then I might start walking. So tonight's topic is: Are you a driver, passenger, or walker on the road of life? And there's no wrong answer. It's very important that we know that. This is not a question that is meant to trigger something that makes you think of yourself as being deficient in any area. If we spend the time that I know we will unpacking it, it'll all make sense. If it doesn't, to those that are listening and participate. So, are you a driver, a walker? Are you a driver, a passenger, or a walker on the road of life? And there's no wrong answer. So, we can begin with just that question. And I truly hope once you got this message, Lisa and Jay, that you looked at that and said, I'm starting to turn some stuff over right now because this is a question that I really want to just make the highlight and feature. I don't want to steer too far from what we're discussing with. I think again, what is an unpackable question? There are many ways we can go. So let's start the journey. Lisa, you have the first um, option of opportunity of unpacking this thing.
Thank you, Felton. And you always come up with the greatest topics. So, first of all, my answer is I am a driver. And although there are times when I try to even be a passenger, I get pushed into the driver's seat. I have not resented that. I have questioned my that imposter syndrome, right? I remember being in City Academy and Greensboro City Academy. And I I won that superlative, like your team, your classmates vote superlatives. And I had no, ideas or indications or whatever. But I won a superlative for being the most inquisitive, right? I asked 1,000 questions, but I was just being me. And most of the time, I'll say 90% of the time, the questions I'm asking have to do with what I think someone else may be wanting to ask, but or are afraid to ask, or can't find the words, or embarrassed, or whatever. So I feel like I'm a driver because I I'm comfortable doing that. So it's not like something where I'm like, "Oh, should I ask a question?" And it people sometimes people aren't, and that doesn't make, if you're a passenger or you're just chilling, that makes you just as valuable because you've made space for me to be who I've been. So you've created that opportunity. So I always like to look at each one of those things as giving everybody opportunities to be who they are, whatever it is you are. So I have said, okay, it's cool. This is what I was gifted with because it is a comfortable thing for me to do. So thanks for that question.
Absolutely. And I kind of I know we're gonna come back to this in a different way. So I'm looking forward to how you go along the rest of the way. Lisette, go ahead and put that back up, Dang. Lisette says, I believe that I'm a driver, passenger, and a walker. I am so eager to learn more. So yeah, I almost wish you hadn't put that up. So we're gonna get to that point. But I think that's an understood thing if you really engage with what we're discussing. There are moments where you become all of those things. But I understand why there's a primary, and I get what you're saying in your driver um, acknowledgement, Lisa. So I appreciate you sharing that. But we're going to come back because there's so many ways we can go with this question. Jay, what's your response? Driver, passenger, or walker?
Yeah, I actually could relate to what Lisa said, and I was struggling with that too because I think that prematurely and also from a construct dynamic, we are conditioned to be drivers. We are taught that, oh, you got to take life in your own hands and you got to do this and you got to do that. And so there is an expectation to be a driver, but there's also a willingness to that expectation to be a driver. And I think that sometimes we're pushed into that prematurely. And I think as we get older, we realize that we're just a conduit that is used. And so a lot of times being a passenger, meaning being that journeyman, allows us to have access to different things. I always think about whenever I drive, there are certain things that I see that I don't see as a passenger. And I'm like, and I used to switch. I remember telling my wife, like, you saw this over here? She's like, yeah, it's been there for years. But I've been driving for years, and so I miss opportunities. And I think that the goal for me is to stay a passenger even when I'm being pushed to be a driver. And I think that a walker, in my opinion, when I think about a walker, is when you have mastered being a passenger and you know how to stop at those rest areas and stretch your legs. So that's what I'm thinking more about as a journeyman. I struggle at being a walker for sure, but I do toggle between being a driver, but my goal is to be a passenger.
Yeah, great. Great way to actually, place it in the real terms of moving in a vehicle. I actually think the same way. I drive so much that when I get to sit in the passenger seat, and don't let it be a big car, and I actually get to sit in the back seat. You remember when you were a kid and it was a daggone battle of who gets to ride shotgun. Now, I think we don't mind sitting in the back if we ever get the opportunity. But all of those vantage points are different. Each one is totally different than the other. The back seat almost gives you everything because you can look forward, you can look to the side, and you've got unobstructed views almost. Period. So being a passenger has a multitude of different vantage points in the actual sense and in the way that we're discussing. Because if you introduce yourself to something new, Lisa, you're becoming a passenger by default. You have to be open to being informed, have to be open to being given direction. Um, you cannot just jump into situations and be driving. Now, you can influence your ability to drive and navigate certain situations by all of what you expose yourself to on the road of life. So you can become better adjusted and more prepared to be that driver if you've taken some walks, if you've allowed yourself to be the passenger, and you've taken it all in and all of that wonderful stuff. So now we get to go down the unpacking of the question road because there's no way you're going to tell me you haven't been each of those things. Um, you can be intent on being one or the other, but at points like I just mentioned, you're forced to be, you have to be some of the things that you may not consider yourself. So, with that being said, Lisa, you already mentioned that you think of yourself as a driver. Now, after I read Lisette's comment, bring me to a point where tell me sometime that you were a passenger. Go ahead and put Lisette's comment back up. For a walker, time slows down and you can observe and absorb everything around. Absolutely well stated, because there are places that we drive by. I'll say myself, I'll make it subjective. I drive by and I'll look, and you'll know, some bypass or highway exit somewhere that that there's probably not a lot of people that walk or get to actually tread on that grass. They may cut the grass, they may maintain the grass, but there's some little carve out, some nice little garden type area that's on the highway, and people just flying by there, and it's not a time that it ever makes sense for you to see anyone walking in those little flower beds or things that exist for us to see as we're driving by. Somebody has to go there and maintain them, take care of them. But when you get the opportunity, as I used to do when I lived in Durham, to walk roads that generally are not walkable, it is a totally different advantage point. I mean, you see the significant drop off or the muddy part that you have to avoid and walk in the street for a moment. So yeah, you get to take it in more. You get to really appreciate, or say I would never do this again because of how dangerous it is. So we'll keep blurring the lines of the analogy and the actuality, but we understand each other. Sometimes you might say, "Oh, this was a bad idea. Shouldn't have walked." Lisa, continue. So give me a time when you were the passenger.
Well, actually, right now, trying to be in these moments, right? And feeling like there are things I don't want to do, there's directions I'm not wanting to go, but deferring to um, others' assessments and analysis based on things I can't see. And there are so many times when we can't see things, especially about ourselves or about the needs of others. So I talk all the time about my kids, and they move me everywhere. Right. So anytime with them, I'm making moves based on my conscious thoughts of what that will do to them or how things will affect them. And those decisions, it's them driving, really. Like they're the entity that I'm having to consider at all times. So most times. So my oldest son, and I talk about Jeffrey a lot as being the a driver of a lot of my choices, because he's come through a lot more fires. And so even a decision I've made in respect to entering a political realm, my son was like, "Look, this is what you do. You help people, and you have to stop being scared of what somebody else may say, or how somebody else may perceive something. You know what your motives are. You know what you're doing, and you need to take what you're doing to impact change for the benefit of others." So I'm sitting back and going, "Okay, tell me what that looks like to you." So that's me watching through his eyes, what he's seen for his 30 years with me, and what he sees that I can do to benefit others, where my limited vision is like holding everybody back and everything up from my fear or whatever, if that makes sense.
No, so I could ask to go a little bit deeper with that, because I think the most genuine way at times that we get to become drivers, or that we are moved to become drivers, is when someone sees something in you. Does not mean that you're ready to jump behind the wheel or take the reins. It means that someone's actually encouraging you to become that driver, which we can also, attach in some ways to being a leader and whatever, or however else we want to interpret it. But if that's what you're saying, your son observed, and it was based on your inclination to venture in that passenger role for a little while, then yeah, I mean that's a wonderful thing. I mean, that encouragement is invaluable, especially when it comes to someone, comes from someone near and dear. Um, Jay, what about yourself? When is the time that I'm a passenger? I'm along for the ride right
Um, I guess when I was sitting there thinking, like, I guess we can flip these any type of way that technically it's a passenger. Like, I think that sometimes, like how you did say, you're forced to be a passenger. And to be honest, it's like, I hate to get deeply spiritual, but sometimes I just think about that. It's like, if you do believe in some type of superpower or creator, for me, my faith has set me down a lot of times when I thought I was driving and I wrecked, and you have to, you literally have to be the passenger and allow things to happen. And to be honest, right now, like, I know that my organization is my purpose, but sometimes it doesn't yield the results that I think it should based off of what my interpretation of my faith said it would do. And so right now I'm a passenger, because I have to allow my purpose to do what it's going to do. And I just serve as a midwife to it. And it's hard because you do want to shape things and change them and take control, but you can't. You got to surrender. And I do hate surrendering. I do hate not being in control, but doing it the other way just didn't yield positive results. But at least I'm at peace, even though I'm uncomfortable. So I feel like that's where I am right now with the organization, with purpose, with accepting those things. Children growing up, I hate that my daughters are no longer babies. Me and my wife are going through a transition. We're going through a separation right now. So it's like, I can't control any of this stuff. So I'm forced literally right now to just sit here and just take the ride and see where it go and just not waver in my faith.
So I think a lot of what kind of can deem at points, whether you're driving or riding or even walking, is humility, is something that Jay is speaking directly to. When you think you got it or you can manage it, and hey, I know I do this and I do that, and then this happens and that happens. But what happens when you do this and you do that, and what usually happens doesn't? Like you just said, what you expect just never materializes, even though you've been working towards that thing. You've been working towards that goal. You've put in all the work. So to your point, Jay, I am someone who embraces all three, as Lisette alluded to or mentioned, not even alluded to, she mentioned directly. I embrace all three because there is something at work that we can't put our finger on, and we really can't be the captains of our own ship as much as we try. There are going to be things that come along and derail. There are going to be things that come along and elevate. Uh, I talked in this space before, maybe not to you two, but I've had some really wonderful conversations about Stoicism, Epicureanism, various philosophies, and those things exist for a reason. You better not get through life thinking you're gonna win every day. You better understand that you're gonna take some L's along the way, and on your best day, in your best time, in your best outfit, there will be a car that runs into the mud and throws something on you, and just changes the whole narrative and thoughts that you were having about what was on the way, what was about to happen. So, man, first and foremost, I appreciate you even being that comfortable, open up in this space about what's going on in your personal life, man. That's a weight. That is a weight. But you handling it, and life continues. I have something that I think you're gonna appreciate when I play a couple of clips in a moment. But I want to finish us unpacking our thoughts about this topic. But I think you'll appreciate that. Lisette said, Lisa, that was a beautiful example of the importance on being a passenger. Absolutely. It's important for us to understand the value in each of these things. That's why there's no wrong answer. At this point, me speaking honestly about my position, when I presented the question, one of our loyal supporters of Grown Folks Business, she immediately said, well, we know you're a driver. And I'm laughing. I'm like, yeah, I guess I could be interpreted that way, but man, I'm on some serious coattails. I'm literally so appreciative of the people I've been introduced to and had the pleasure of knowing in real life, and in literature, um, via everything that I've engaged in, books and from a historical perspective, as I am a historian, man, I'm appreciative of the students I get to teach. Yeah, of course, I'm driving because I'm teaching a class. But when I get the type of feedback and some of the conversations I've had of late from these students, I instantly become a passenger because I'm getting the moment that I hope for, but you can never completely know what that's going to be like until you get that email from that student, until you have that student come to your office hours and really tell you how much they're into, what you're trying to communicate to them, what you're trying to impart. So yeah, all of that matters. So a time that I know that I have been a passenger, that I was undoubtedly a passenger. Um, when I applied to grad school, I applied to North Carolina Central University for history and CUNY in New York um, for film studies. Um, trying to see about getting a master in either or. I chose to go to Central um, for history because it's always been something that I've appreciated. What I've learned is a organic intellectual, and I like the term, but I don't think of it as hoity-toity or anything. Is I appreciate the term for what it is. If you sit around and are curious about stuff, like Lisa said, if you decide to pick up a book and learn something, if you decide to go to the county academy and understand better how the system works that you live under, then you're organic intellectual. You chose to do something without being steered and pushed in that direction or forced into it or being even a natural tendency, even though it's organic intellectual, is organic because you just said, hey, I'm going to go give my attention to this thing. So anyway, being a passenger um, early in my uh, journey towards attaining a master's, man, uh, instant passenger because I had to learn how to write arguments, thesis. I'm a writer naturally. I write creatively. I write, but I kept getting this feedback of no, this goes here, and so I'm writing to build up stories because I like creative writing. I'm writing to build up. I'm writing like I'm writing a film. I write scripts. I'm writing like the third act's coming. It's like no, the third act's got to be here. This is more technical writing. This is academic. So um, yeah, I was a passenger all the way, and I still am somewhat because I like to be entertained when I read. And most academic writers, please, I hope nobody's listening is going to be offended by this, but most academic writers, they write to get the information out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I like to engage the reader. So it's still something I kind of play with. But yeah, I was a complete and total passenger at that time. So now, go ahead, Lisa. Yeah, go ahead and then get to your Walker part. Give me your Walker story when you know you were a Walker.
Well, first of all, I feel you. In law school, learning that a memo is not just letting somebody know something and then learning how to write. Oh my God, what? Um, so anyway, before I get to the Walker part, I wanted to say this: like I keep having light bulb moments because today, when the Emmett Till bill passed, I'm thinking that my whole trek through motherhood, with me picking and getting that information, what Emmett Till's mother did, has driven me. So I've been a passenger on that story with driving, educating my children and exposing them to things and educating them on those things based on her decisions with what happened to her child. So her decisions was driving me riding along saying, okay, this happened, da 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 da. So I'm just like, wow, this driver passenger walker thing is serious. I have an issue with walking, and I'm in recovery right now from just go, go, go. Because, like you, Jay Dwayne, I'm in transition. For 30 years, I've lived my life and made everything about Jeffrey, Jessica, Jeremy, Jordan, and Lily. And I didn't have the luxury of chilling because people needed to eat, or people needed to be educated, or people needed to be exposed. And I've missed a lot of stuff. So I like that. And that's something I've been trying to put into my life. And it's a challenge. If I've lived 50 years running, jogging, jumping, right? How do I now say, okay, take a second, take a second. What, those are flowers? What kind of flower is that? I ain't got time for no flowers. I gotta go cut the grass. So I like that part, but I'm learning, and it is learning for me because, but I'm open, right? I'm open and I love learning. So I'm open to understanding I need all three of those in order to be a more full human being. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, and I thank you. Yeah, you have to have all three of them, but you can recognize what your stronger suit is. I mean, I know that at the end of the day, I like to get stuff done. I don't like to waste a lot of time. I like to get to the point, blah blah blah. So I know those are pretty much driver traits. But man, take the time to sit down and have a conversation with somebody and take a metaphorical walk. Take the time to really appreciate the people in your life while they're here, the ones that are appreciable. Um, but yeah, that's important. Those are walks of a different sort. And if you get the opportunity to walk with them, man, please take advantage. So yeah, but man, I get tired of driving. I want to stop driving sometimes. I want to just sit back in the back seat and wake up and be at the destination. So yeah, all of them apply. Jay, what's your walker story?
I don't know. I literally was struggling with that one because I know I have a desire to get there. Um, and I don't know. I was just talking to a friend about this. I feel like I was kind of like cheated out of certain developmental opportunities, like having to like grow up fast. I was homeless. I was molested at 11, and you get a different thing that's like I've been working since I was 13, and it's just like that's one of my goals. And I guess when I think about walking, I look at being able to walk is like being able to kind of take a rest. And I just feel like the cards that I was dealt haven't afforded me that opportunity just yet. And I'm looking forward to being able to take that stroll in life when it's not so many fires, not so many pressing issues. And I don't want it to sound all mean or dark, but there are some things that do require urgency, especially when you're developing and growing and doing all of those things. But truth be told, there are some moments that I feel like development, some of us have been cheated out of because of just what we got. And I think it happens more in the beginning. We get to walk. And I think in our latter years in life, we'll get to walk again. And I just hope and pray I get to that point where I can take those strolls and not have to either put out fires, not have to learn something, not have to do something, but can just rest and take it all in. So I'm looking forward to the walk part.
So you know it's possible and you know it's coming. And sometimes you got to drive or walk or run or you gotta do everything it takes to get to that peace. Because at the end of the day, I think that's what you mentioned, and that walk can be peaceful.
Mm.
But sometimes you got to run to it, you got to drive to it, you got to be the passenger to it. Yeah, man, we would be totally deceiving ourselves if we didn't acknowledge that we are the sum at certain points of our experiences. So, what we deal with and what we go through and how we interpret relationships, especially during our adolescent stage, shapes us. It creates uh, wonderful ideas around human beings, or it creates ideas that are associated with I can't trust anybody. I don't believe nothing that somebody says. I don't care how much they say they care about me. So yeah, man, there's a lot that goes with becoming more of a driver, passenger, or walker, given your origin story. It really has a lot to do with that. And sometimes, and Jay, I'd say, sometimes you that driver, and it sounds like you say, you relentless in trying to get goals accomplished. Man, so much stuff is a blur. You might miss on that opportunity to pull off and take a break. You know how you're driving and you see that rest stop, you say, I can make it to the next one. I know I got to go, but I can. And then you happen to see that sign that says next rest stop 30 miles or something crazy, and you got to make it a detour some other kind of way. So yeah, it happens. It happens always. Both of you have mentioned stuff that I think is truly connected to the clips I'm going to play. They're relatively short and they're poetry. One is Robert Frost and one is Chief Tecumseh. I think both of them are highly applicable to what has been shared in this space tonight. So I'm going to play those in just a second because I'll mention my walking times, my times where I knew I was a walker. Experiencing great loss um, in terms of losing a loved one of any caliber, family, friend, whatever. Um, if you don't process that, if you try to drive past it or um, run past it, or not at minimum walk with it, we need to sit with it. Then it comes back. It comes back with a vengeance. Not properly unpacking or mourning or what have you. Um, whew, it's a heavy burden. It's a heavy weight. So my walking experience took place more in my teens and unexpectedly because I lost my great grandmother, 1987, and I was 11 years old, and that was my first great loss. And not being able to process that and not being able to completely let go was really tough. And she was loved by quite a few people, so I know I wasn't the only one dealing with that. But man, um, I remember questioning God. I was 11 years old, and I could not understand why she had to leave, and that was tough. Um, but I didn't process it well. I didn't deal with it well, so I didn't get to take the walk and the sit with it moments until I was a teenager. I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And I got the opportunity to truly appreciate how precious life is. I got to literally take steps that help me process and understand we're here for a brief period of time. And if that 11 years that I got to spend with that lady who was born in 1909, if that 11 years was that impactful to me, and I'm one of the, you don't really get to start remembering stuff till you're 4 or 5 years old, so we can whittle that down to 7 years or 6 years. um, Man, I want to have that much impact on someone if I'm afforded the opportunity. So my walking with that um, gave me something that we've been talking about too. Gave me a little purpose, and there's none like completely understanding that you have one. Um, there's a place for you here, so you value yourself, not in a way that's negative or disregarding of others. You value yourself because you value others. So that's important, and that's a part of my walk. Just understanding we have a finite amount of time, so be good to each other as much as you can. Life's too short to be otherwise. So I want to play. I'll tell you what. I'll play one poem. We'll come back and talk a little bit, and then I'll play the other. But both are highly applicable, and I think both of you will appreciate it, and everybody listening too. Lisette, thanks for joining us. I meant to tell you that. So give me a moment to share. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Then sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step that trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference.
So he says, in 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. Those are the 3 words. It goes on. In all the confusions of today, with all our troubles, with politicians and people slinging the word fear around, all of us become discouraged, tempted to say this is the end, the finish. But life, it goes on. It always has, it always will. Don't forget that. So that's the first one, and I'm interested in you guys' take. I have appreciation for poetry, and I like it when it's something I can really just understand, and I think we all can grasp what Robert Frost was talking about there. But Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
I do agree. I think that he summed it up best when he said life goes on, but I think it seemed like we're always at this fork in the road. And that's what I got from it, is that what I want to do may not be what's best to do, and what's best to do may not be what I want to do, or it may not be convenient to do, or the right time to do, or appropriate to do. But why can't I reap the benefits of both? Why do I have to always choose? Why isn't there a reasonable compromise? Why, when you think you travel on one road, they split? So it's so many different ways that was going with me. And I too appreciate poetry. Poetry saved my life. So yeah, man, that's what I was just sitting there thinking about. Like, I think about parenting. When people tell you about, oh, you should have kids, they glamorize being a parent. But some of that stuff is not really fun, and it never will be fun, no matter how you dress it up. And they make you feel guilty for being honest and transparent. And that's about life. Like, I'm grateful to live, but at the same time, do I have to go through all of this frustration and hell that I got to go through just to do it? It's like the memes say, I like being black, but that thing dangerous, but it's lit. So it's like, it's those things that is always some type of compromise. Why isn't it just a smooth transition for once? It's always a choice.
That's a really good way of looking at it, looking at the poem, and I think in all its glory, because it's applicable to everything and all that this journey is. It's not clear. You're more than likely, whether you choose to or not, you might go down that lesser traveled road, even if you didn't mean to, because it might be traveled some and it looked like, yeah, somebody's been here before, but you're gonna get to a point where, like you said, another split in the walkway, or It's just going to be a little bit more overgrown in some spots. But I do appreciate that that honesty, man. When you're talking about kids, or when you're talking about just the struggles that may come in life, or the way people try to dress stuff up, you know, or try to put what they think something is on something, as opposed to truly considering what it may be taken for you to be a good parent, taken for you to be a student at a certain age, or taken from you to maintain your household. Oh, this is a nice house. Oh, you know, they don't think about what may go into all of that work. Your kids going to college here, that, you know, but what did it take to get them to that point? So yeah, absolutely. Good observations about Mr. Frost's poem. What about you, Lisa? What are your thoughts?
So what Jay Dwayne said in his assessment, it brings to mind a saying I heard, and this is also in conjunction with what Robert Frost was saying, that it's not as hard to do the right thing. It's hard to know the right thing to do. You know, you guys know I have a podcast, and someone called me last week and said, well, you don't talk about your older daughter that much, and you should share that experience in order to help people, right? Because I talk a lot about parenting. Remember, I'm in transition. My older daughter is 28. And what I had to say, so this is a road less traveled, right? Some people may immediately want to expose everything without the consideration of the implications on others. So my older daughter is 28, and she did not experience this mother, right? The more woke one, the more educated one, or what have you. So although I'm an air quote better parent to my current daughter, the things that happened to my older daughter, I have to consider how she will be affected by me exposing certain parts of that, right? So this is a less traveled road, because all people don't think, okay, yeah, I'm out here sharing and trying to help people, so I'm just going to say everything I did and help you. And you have to pause and say, wait, what's those implications? And yes, there's some greater good, but there also could be some greater harm that I'm not willing. So the risk benefit analysis. So for me, it you don't know the right thing to do most of the time for me, but I have to say, what's the first things first? What's the purpose? But I can't try to heal something by destroying something else, if that makes sense.
No, so you don't even want to take the chance that you may be destroying. You might be making it the most beautiful thing, but why take that chance if you're in a decent place? A decent place is fine. Yeah, I appreciate both of you guys sharing some really intimate things about your life. Those are, and Lisa, you've told me you were not, you were, and I'm not probably saying this exactly how you said it, but you kind of felt bad that your other kids didn't get this parent. That road, that path, it's not necessarily always just an easy choice. You think you're doing the right thing, and of course you come to that impasse, and you might have to turn around. I think Frost alludes to that a little bit in the point. You know, I've gone this way, I might as well keep going type thing. But the key thing is that life really does go on. Man, you get the points that you're just thinking it's a wrap and I can't do this no more. But man, if you just hang in there, it's gonna go on. That's for sure. That is absolutely for certain. Um, Greg and Julia, we often talk about journaling when we're in this space. And one of the awesome things about journaling is that if you actually do it, good time, bad time, whatever time, just journal. And it doesn't have to be every day. It can be whenever the moment hits you, or you just have the time or the thought about doing it. If you do it enough, you'll come to points where you'll reference things that either you thought you would never come back from, or that you thought were just going to be great forever. That's life. And it goes on, because you know what? You got to journal another page and another page after that. And when you go back and find to give some thought to whatever happened, oh, I just thought I was not gonna make it through that moment. It was the worst thing I ever experienced, but life goes on. So I'm very appreciative of Robert Frost's ideas about life. I have one other one to play, and we can talk on the other side of it. Either of you have anything you want to add before I do that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Miss Lisa just made me think about one of the things that we always like, even with parenting, and me and my mom had a great conversation when I was 36, very similar on. I think sometimes we confuse intention with outcome or results, and it takes a strong person to know the difference and accept that. Like, her doing the best that she did or she thought still had some type of collateral damage. And I'm sure something that I'm thinking I'm doing the best is going to have some collateral damage with my children. But guess what? I'm willing to accept it. Whereas before, we come from generations where they accepted, well, my intent was to do this. Well, that still didn't absolve, the damage. And I think that if more of us would separate like the intention and then deal with the immediate outcome, meaning what do we have here? You made an intend to hit me by a car, but here we are. I'm still going to have to file the insurance claim. You still going to have to pay for this. Something is going to happen. There's still a consequence to that. And I think that a lot of us try to avoid consequence by just really sitting with intention and not realizing, to your point, that there could be some beautiful things that come out of that. Like, yeah, this may have happened, but let's be honest, if you don't admit that you hit me with this car, you're going to hold up the insurance process. When truth of the matter is, I didn't even like this car. You just helped me. And we don't think about those things because we're like, I didn't intend to hit you. But now that you recognize that impact, what are we going to do on the other side? Because there is an opportunity for beauty over there.
I'm just glad you weren't walking at that point, because I actually thought you meant, yeah, hit while you walk. But no, man, absolutely. I again, man, I'm glad you guys were able to make it tonight, because this is just that's the thing I like about Grown Folks Business. It always works out with who shows up to have these conversations. It seems like I just get the right people for the right topics, and there's no wrong people to get. Let me clarify. I enjoy everybody that participates, but this was a special night for me because I got to interact with two people I hold in high regard, and I'm getting to talk about this unpackable question and have a great time doing it. So I want to transition to the last clip. Okay, Jasmine says, and thanks for joining us, Jasmine. Lisa, congratulations for the courage to share your journey of self-awareness as a parent, generational traumas, and learned behaviors in communities of color provide a journey of continuous unlearning. Yeah, well stated. Thanks, Jasmine. I appreciate you joining in and making that comment. Yeah, something I was going to say in regard to what Jay just shared, and of course, Lisa, this process, man, it requires starts and stops, resets. But what I think Jay is saying he'll do differently, and what I think Lisa's doing differently, communication is top, man. You can't just live on that because I said so. And Bob, when he's on, he's all, that's one of his pet peeves. Because I said so, but why? You can't just live on that because I said so thing. Well, this is because I said so. That's just limiting. It limits so much potential for growth. Okay, I'm gonna get to this last clip, and we're gonna just speak briefly about it, and then we'll get out of here. You don't know how much I've enjoyed this. This is very important to me, and I'm glad it is to you guys also. So share again. And here we go.
So, live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one for their religion. Respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours too. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. Make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you pass over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for food and the joy of living. If you see no reason to give thanks, the blame lies only on yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise into fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home.
So not to be too morbid, but I think it's highly applicable to our conversation that we understand. You get this one that we know of, make the best of it. Know that the path is not always clear. Pick one, and if you turn around and come back and take the other one, hey, it's fine. But along that journey, no matter which path you choose, whether you're a driver, passenger, or walker, consider others. Be kind to them. Make your death song a great one. That people will appreciate you and celebrate you once you leave here. Do the best you can with what you got. I'll stop there. I'll give you two a couple words to say at the end right here, but I so appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody who was able to join. Jay, what you got?
Oh yeah, I just like that how he basically was saying, be intentional to mind your business, welcome other people, but focus on you. Don't let people, have jurisdiction in places or trespass into your business, because you should be focusing on yours and do the same for others. I love that. And I thank you for having this conversation, because I was sitting here just thinking, I think that maybe this was a Walker moment for me, to look at things a little bit, differently. And you didn't even know, like, I admire you a lot, since the first day that I met you. And I tell Meryl that, like, you're doing certain things that I want to do. Like, I started, my doctorate, and then I stopped because I didn't have a purpose in it. I didn't know why I wanted to do it other than just to be Dr. J. But when I listen to you, it's helping me connect the dots to a more meaningful experience, and also a meaningful experience in community. So this episode was a walk experience for me. So it was an opportunity to kind of glean a little bit, and I'm grateful for that.
Man, that means more than you can know. That's the purpose. That's what we're here for. And I truly appreciate that. And man, one other thing, Chief Tecumseh said, wake up with appreciation. If you don't, then that's on you. But man, be happy that you get to get up and try to get right what you got wrong yesterday and what you want to get right the next day and what have you. Just be glad that you get to try to solve the puzzle again. Go ahead, Lisa. I appreciate that, Jay. I really do, man. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Jay, for pointing that out too, because I'm like, wow, yeah, like it was cool to marinate in this experience. So in thinking of what the chief was saying, I've kind of had a morbid perspective for a long time. So similar to Jay, experienced a lot of drama and trauma in childhood. So I actually bought like life insurance. I bought cemetery plots and at 26. And I had wills and all that because I just saw so much. But even with me experiencing all the death, I've been with people got murdered and people killed themselves, whatever. And I put all these things in place for when I die. I didn't live, right? I missed so much stuff because I'm like, oh my God, that's happening. Let me fix this. Let me tend to this. Let me tend to that. But with what the chief is saying, what Jay is saying, and to you, Felton, it's like, okay. And then go back to life is going to go on. So let's live, right? Let's live, experience this life, and chill out. So thank you. So just like Jay, thank you very much. Felton, I mean, awesome show all the time. And I might just not work for the rest of the night and finish walking this on out. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, find some rest. That's important. And yeah, so live your life. Yeah, that's yeah. The chief knew he was on to something. Look, I appreciate you both joining me tonight, Danya. Always appreciate what you do. Everybody in cyberspace, thanks for joining. Lisette, Jasmine, thanks for chiming in. Your comments were well appreciated and well received. And hey, we'll see who shows up next week. But I'm always pleased. I greatly appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming. Y'all have a wonderful night. Take care. And thank you guys. That means the world. Y'all don't understand how much that means to me. Y'all take care. Have a good night.